Perception and Action. Welcome. Live read, and actually, it's chapter 5, Perception Action. We're going to be doing reading the book 30-Second Brain. This is the chapter 5 of Perception and Action. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lissandro Boccacci. I'm Oklahoma's India tour, and welcome. Let's do this, people. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's kind of review what we've already gone through here. We've already gone through some of this stuff, which was pretty interesting. And let's see, this is what we're getting ourselves into tonight. It is what? What time is it? 9:37 in the PM. Why we see colors, blind sight, synesthesia, sensory substitution, missing the obvious, how we pick up a cup of coffee, Oliver Sacks, alien hand syndrome. And then that's pretty much it. Then we have the next chapter here. So we're on chapter 5, Perception and Action. And we're going to get to it and do it here in a second. Give me one of the names of my shirts. When I make a shirt, it's going to say, let's get to it and do it. Why not? Let's get this book out of here. It's been in my way bothering me for a long time. There we go. That's much better. How are we doing, folks? You guys having a good night? It's Sunday night. People have to go to bed early and get themselves ready for a job tomorrow. I'm going to start writing bright and early. I need to make some money, so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to focus on working on the project that I've been hired to do. It's been months. I need to focus. I need to focus on that now. I've been feeling much better, and I'm devoting myself to working on that project tomorrow. And like I said, I need to really put in some hours and time into it. The best thing to do is always to work, bright and early and hit it hard. So that's the plan. That's the plan. Tomorrow, hit it hard early in the morning. Do it before we're getting into it. Before we get into it, I'm going to smoke just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Just a little bit. Ooh, do I have anything left there to smoke? That's the question. That's the real question. Yes, sirree, Bob. Thank you for joining me on my channel. My name is Lissandro Boccacci. I'll be reading chapter 5 tonight. I'm going to drink some water here in a second. And as always, give me a sub, give me a like, and give me a share. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's having a fine evening tonight. We're going to be doing some reading into the midnight. Some readings into the midnight. Let's do it, shall we? Let's do a little smokage before we get started. This is the good stuff too. This is the good stuff. A Light it like a candle. Get it going. That's pretty good. Not good enough. Not good enough. There we go. It's like a birthday candle. Make a wish. Make a wish. You got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Make a wish. Oh, yeah. Rock and roll. You ready to join me? Are you all ready to join me on one of my favorite things to do? Here we go. We start off with the glossary, of course. Kind of go over some of the words that we need to know. Perception and action glossary. Nice glare right there in there. Area V4. V4 is one of the main subdivisions of the visual cortex in the occipital lobes of the cerebral cortex. V4 was named by Samir Zeki in the 1970s and has been closely associated with the perception of color, although it is not limited to this role. Attention. A key cognitive and perceptual process in which the brain prioritizes the processing of some signals at the relative expense of others. There are many types of attention, such as attention to spatial locations, objects, or object features. Attention is usually studied in the context of vision, but it is present for other senses as well. Cerebral cortex. The deeply folded outer layers of the brain, which take up about 2/3 of this entire volume and are divided into left and right hemispheres that house the majority of the gray matter, so called because of the lack of myelination that makes other parts of the brain seem white. The cerebral cortex is separated into lobes, each having different functions, including perception, thought, language, action, and other higher cognitive processes, such as decision-making. Change blindness, a phenomenon in which surprisingly large changes in visual scene can go unnoticed if there is a gap between the images, or if there are other more salient changes accompanying the transition. Change blindness, like inattentional blindness, suggests that our perception of the world may not be as reliable as we usually assume. Color constancy. Color constancy. A process by which our visual system compensates for changes in illumination that affect the balance of light waves reflected from color surfaces. For example, a bed of roses will result in a different mixture of wavelengths at dawn than at midday, yet even though color depends precisely on this mixture, we will perceive the roses as a particular shade of red in both cases. Frontal lobes, one of our main divisions of cerebral cortex and the most highly developed in humans compared to other animals. The frontal lobes, one of each hemisphere, houses areas associated with decision-making, planning, memory, voluntary action, and personality. Intentional blindness. Related to change blindness, in inattentional blindness,
Visible but unexpected objects can go unnoticed and attention is fully occupied elsewhere. In a famous demonstration by Dan Simmons, volunteers failed to notice a man dressed as a gorilla walking across a basketball court when they were focusing on counting the number of successful passes. Motor cortex. Part of the cerebral cortex located toward the rear of the frontal lobes, which is responsible for the planning and execution of actions. The primary motor cortex sends control signals directly to the spinal cord and from there to the muscles. Higher order motor areas are involved in more abstract sequencing and planning of actions and initiating voluntary actions. Superior colliculus. A pair of small structures beneath the cerebral cortex that play an important role in guiding fast visual reflexes, such as object tracking, visual signals traveling via the superior colliculus does not reach the cortex. That's interesting. Although the physical wavelength of light reflected from the green squares is the same, one. Very true. Why we see colors. Our eyes are the mere starting point for seeing colors. The eyes contain special receptors of detecting the wavelength of light, this being the physical property of light most closely associated with color. However, if we move an apple from sunlight to indoor candlelight, then we still see it as red, even though the wavelengths of light reflecting off of it can be very different due to different lighting conditions. This aspect of color is computed by the brain instead of the eyes. Moreover, some of the colors we see, such as magenta, don't have corresponding wavelength. They are entirely constructed by the brain. There is part of the brain area V4 present in both hemispheres that is responsible for the perception of color. Damage to this region of the brain creates the experience of seeing the world in black and white. Why would there be a dedicated region of the brain for processing color? The V4 region of the brain is thought to compute color constancy. That is, it infers the color of a surface taking into account the lighting conditions. This ability may have evolved in our primate ancestors due to the need to reliably identify food sources such as red fruit and green foliage. Very interesting. Blind sight means you don't always get the whole picture. You may not even see it, but your brain saw it. Okay. Oh, I see what it's saying. That's a cool picture. Blind sight. Patient GY had a car accident as a teenager that damaged a small region of his brain and meant that he was blind in one part of his visual field. When shown a moving light in his blind field, he would claim not to be able to see it. When forced to guess whether the light moved to the left or right, he would be more than 90% accurate despite maintaining that he could not see it. This paradox is termed blind sight. Blind sight. The key to understanding it comes from the fact that there is not just one route that connects the eyes to the brain, but many, around 10 routes in humans, so damaging the brain might affect one route selectively, whereas damaging the eyes would tend to affect them all. These routes have evolved for different functions. One uses light to calibrate the biological clock, useful for getting over jet lag, and another is used to orient the eyes to sudden changes. These routes are still functioning in patients such as GY, enabling him to see to some extent. The route that is damaged in GY and others like him is the main route involving the cortex. It is important for seeing and fine detail and is closely linked to the conscious experience of seeing. Interesting. Play me a blue note or a hibiscus-scented one, or one that tastes of cinnamon and honey. It's a pretty cool drawing, though. Synesthesia. You guys ready for this? For a small percentage of the population, words may be colored, so Tuesday might be blue. Music may have a taste, or numbers may be visualized on a twisting, turning landscape. This remarkable way of experiencing the world is termed synesthesia. People with synesthesia have additional sensations, such as music may be tasted as well as heard, that appear effortlessly to them. It emerges early in life and tends to be stable, so if Tuesday is blue now, then it will be tomorrow and next year. One key to understanding this is to realize that our conscious perceptions, such as of color, are created by the brain, so they can be turned on not only by our sensory organs, but also by activity in other parts of the brain. And I can't say that, it's so hard to say. Synesthesia. You guys say that word? Synesthetes? Oh my god. Synesthetes. Synesthetes? I don't know. Give me a break. The color center of the brain may be turned on not only by seeing colors, but also by hearing words. The latter may happen because people with synesthesia have unusual patterns of connectivity between regions of the brain that tend to be more segregated in others. The rewiring may be genetic. Synesthesia runs in families, but it is not a disorder. For instance, having synesthesia may improve memory. Wow, that's pretty crazy. The resourceful brain can translate sound into a kind of vision with a little help. Sensory substitution. Sensory substitution devices convert information from one sense into another. Their normal purpose is to enable blind people to see by using their intact senses of hearing or touch. For instance, one early device used an array of pins on the wearer's back to create a two-dimensional tactile impression of a visual scene. This enabled blind people to recognize distant objects and even created a feeling of the objects being out there in front of them, even though it was only their back that was stimulated. Modern versions are miniaturized and stimulate the user's tongue, being linked via a computer to a webcam on their head. Alternative devices use sounds to convey vision. For instance, different pixels in an image are translated to different pitches and different points in time. After training, users, blind or sighted, come to recognize the sound waves as shapes, and the sounds activate parts of the brain normally dedicated to visual or tactile shape detection. The ability of the brain to adapt to these devices is a striking example of plasticity that, in some very real sense, creates a cyborg, a functioning entity that is part man, part machine. That's right, we're in the age of cyborgs. Here they come. Pay attention, how many passes did you count? How many slam dunks, and why is Michael Jordan wearing that gorilla suit? That's funny. Slam dunk. Missing the obvious. Missing the obvious. The visual world feels uniformly rich and detailed rather than patchy. However, I need a break. Hold on. Give me a break. I need a water break.
Need a second. We're what? One, two, three. We're about 4 pages away from finishing the chapter. We're on page 106. My neck is kind of hurting. I was kind of looked down, so it's kind of hurting my neck. Let me figure out a better system eventually. But, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys find this interesting. Give me a like, give me a share, give me a sub. We're on chapter 5, page 106. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm gonna take a little break, an extra break. Thanks for joining me. Put a little bookmark here in our favorite place. Look how far along we're getting. Ooh. Plus, we've already finished all these books. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 5th book we finish this month. That's exciting. That's exciting, isn't it? So, let me just stretch my neck a bit. Constantly have to be looking down while reading this. It's starting to hurt my neck. It's kind of funny. And this is the next book in line. It's called Adulting 101. So that's the next one we're going to do. Oh, my back. That feels good. Thanks for joining me tonight. After this quick little smoke, we're going to continue reading. And then I'm going to go to bed because I have plans to get up early and write so I can make some money. I might look at a writing job online and see what's that all about. I always see people looking for people to write articles for like $100. So it's like, that can't be that hard to do that. Let's get to it and do it, shall we? Let's try this. Try this. Maybe this is better. Maybe this is a better situation here. There we go. It's a little bit better. Missing the obvious. The visual world feels uniformly rich and detailed rather than patchy. However, our everyday experience of searching for a hidden object, say our car keys, that turns out to be right in front of us suggests that we don't process all the objects in our field of view to the same degree. There have been some fun experiments that illustrates this. If you are counting the number of passes in a basketball game, you may fail to notice a man in a gorilla suit who walks across the court. This is called intentional blindness. Right, we went over that. Similarly, if a library assistant ducks below the counter to find your book and a new assistant pops up in the same place, then you may not notice the difference at all. This is termed change blindness. Vision and the rest of our senses are continually bombarded with information, and the brain has developed a mechanism, attention, that acts as a filter by allowing some information to be prioritized, such as by amplifying its neural signal at the expense of other information. This prevents us from being continually distracted, so we don't notice the touch of our clothing because we don't attend to that signal. But missing the obvious can sometimes be the price that is paid. Brain the size of Jupiter, speaks 400 languages, can calculate pi to infinity, but still can't pick up a cup of joe without spilling it. Stupid robot. Just kidding. It's kind of funny though.
How we pick up a cup of coffee. The skill of hand-eye coordination is not as simple as it seems, as decades of research on robotics has found locating the cup of coffee is the first challenge. Our visual system can tell us where it is located on the retinal image, but we do not want to reach inside our eyes to find the coffee cup. To locate the coffee cup in the external world, we need to know the position of the eyes in the socket and the position of the head relative to the body. Depth is yet another issue. So signals from the eyes need to be linked to vision. In this way, we transform a visual image from something that is centered on the eyes to something that is centered on the body and hence can be acted upon. There appear to be separate pathways in the brain for locating and acting on an object, such as picking it up, versus knowing what the object is, such as recognizing it as a cup of coffee. Although the two pathways normally work together effortlessly, knowing what an object is affects how we interact with it. Think picking up a paperweight versus an egg. Robots trained to pick up paperweight will be sticky fingers when encountering the egg unless they have some kind of object recognition system. Yeah, I mean, Boston Dynamics, man, they're getting really advanced with their robots. That's for sure. Oliver Sacks, born in London. What did he do? He published a Anthropologist on Mars, 7 paradoxical tales about people with brain disorders who also manage creative high-profile lives. That sounds like a real interesting book. The Mind's Eye, case studies about the experience of visual impairment. Hallucinations, the study of his own and patients' experience of hallucinations, bone disease, and drug-induced. That one sounds interesting, though. I don't know. On Mars, Anthropologist on Mars, 7 paradoxical tales about people with brain disorders. That sounds really interesting. There was another book that sounded interesting, and I should have wrote it down. I didn't. I feel foolish for not writing it down. I'm gonna have to look for the name of that book. Oliver Sacks. That's who we're talking about now. And then we're pretty much done with the chapter. Almost done with the chapter. We just have 2 little pages. And then I'm just going to call it a night, really. Then we'll probably finish the book tomorrow. That's fun. At some point. Let's put it back up here. Shall we? Let's get this situated a little bit better. Here we go. Oliver Sacks, now into his 9th decade and still writing prolifically, is professor of neurology at the New York University School of Medicine. British born and a graduate of Oxford and New York universities, he has lived and worked in the United States since the 1960s. Sacks has always striven to unite science with the arts, to find a sympathetic, universally comprehensible way to explain the behavior of the brain and consciousness without neglecting the physiology and neural circuitry that underpins it. His best-selling books are based on case studies of his patients and his own experiences as a migraine sufferer and experimenter with mind-altering drugs, for example. He presents the diseased, damaged, or broken mind not through the clinical observations for an Olympian physician, but from the horse's mouth and the words of the patients themselves, where they are living with Tourette's, Parkinson's, aphasia, autism, or other conditions. This offers the opportunity to report on the glories that can come from an abnormal response to the world, as well as problems it presents an approach that accommodates both the pragmatic and the poetic. To the New York Times, Sacks is the poet Laureate of Medicine, and in 2001 he was awarded the Lewis Thomas Prize for writing about science. His most famous book is probably The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, 24 essays reporting in from the extremes of the mind. That sounds really interesting. As a neurologist, Sachs is also known for the work he did in the 1960s with survivors from the 1920s pandemic of sleepy sickness. The heck is that? A syphilitis lethargica, who had been comatose for almost 40 years. Sachs believed that the new experiment drug, L-Dopa, although designed to improve dopamine uptake as a therapeutic intervention in Parkinson's disease, might wake them up, and it did, but the outcome was not universally happy. His second book, Awakenings, is an unflinching account of what happened. Sachs has showered with awards, and his work is invaluable in bringing difficult conditions to the attention of the everyday reader. However, he remains a somewhat controversial figure. A few fellow peers feel that he could be exploiting his patients as material for his literary career. Others, that it's possibly too idiosyncratic and insufficiently rigorous in his reporting methods. Yet, in terms of public profile, he could be described as neurology Stephen Hawking. His humane, empathetic, and engaging approach makes him the neurologist most likely to be recognized by non-neurologists. Oliver Sacks. Pretty interesting. Huh. This guy's still alive, I guess. Huh. Yeah, he's still alive. That's pretty interesting. Very interesting. It wasn't me. It was my alien hand that did it. I know it was your favorite mug. I'll get a mop and bucket. Huh. That's funny. What is this alien hand syndrome? Alien hand syndrome is found after certain types of brain damage. Patients feel that movements of a limb, normally the arm, are not initiated by them and hence feel alien, as if the limb has a mind of its own. The movements can be meaningful or meaningless. For instance, the alien hand might unzip a sweater that the other hand just zipped up, or the alien hand may levitate spontaneously, making tentacular movements of the fingers. The character of Dr. Strangelove in the movie of the same name displayed this symptom. There are multiple regions of the brain involved in producing actions. The primary motor cortex sends signals down the spinal cord to produce movements to the limbs. However, the primary motor cortex itself receives signals from other parts of the brain in the frontal lobes that shape and control our actions. Normally, these parts of the brain function together. Our actions don't feel alien because the parts of the brain are produced. Movements communicate with the parts of the brain that control and guide action. If our motor cortex becomes disconnected from these controlling regions, the movements are produced that are unexpected and hence alien. Pretty weird. I gotta be honest, I've never heard of this as being a thing. All right, folks, that's the end of that chapter. We just went through this. This is interesting. It's got interesting books that I may have to pick up and read. Yeah, this has been a fun little chapter. Thanks for stopping in. I had a fun time reading this little section. Pictures are fun. And yeah, that concludes this chapter called Perception and Action. I love this. This dude is cool, though, because I love that he's got books, and I'm really interested in these books. Really, really, really interested in these books. Pretty interesting stuff. And then, this is the weirdest thing. Alien hand syndrome. Isn't that funny? Alien hand syndrome. That's ridiculous. All right, so the next chapter we're going to do, we'll probably do it tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed because I'm tired. Cognition and emotion. Let's see what it's all about. Let's see what all these interesting glossary words in the glossary. Let's see what we got to look forward to. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. The remembering brain. What's the capital of France? How do I make the chess move? Your brain has a specific place for each memory function. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The emotional brain. That's interesting. The imaging brain. That's a weird picture. Paul Broca. That's funny. The linguistic brain. Metacognition. Interesting. What's going on here? Decision making. Okay. We got some monkeys in the house. Mirror neurons. I know all about mirror neurons. I learned that there's a book I have. It's all about mirror neurons. It actually has a lot to do. When you get into filmmaking, you'll learn something about mirror neurons if you ever study filmmaking to a whole very deep level. That's cool though. This is what we got to look forward to next time. I am exhausted, so I am going to go to bed. I like to exhaust myself until I'm like super tired before I go to bed. It's the only way I can fall asleep. So thanks for stopping in. That's pretty much it for perception and action. I guess I'll bookmark where we left off. Right here. Stick it out more like that. Boom, boom. So that concludes chapter 5. We'll start chapter 6 probably tomorrow. I'll probably finish chapter 7. Probably just finish the whole book tomorrow, to be honest. And then my plan is to write. So we'll see. But I probably take breaks. Between writing and finish the book. But here's the next book we're going to get into. Adulting 101. I'm not sure when we'll get into it, but we'll get into it eventually because, like I said, I got to focus a little bit on writing and make some money, or else I am not in a good place. You know what I mean? So it's actually fun though because I do feel more accomplished reading books. So the more books I read, the better I feel about myself. That's a good thing. So we worked out today. We did meditations. We read books. What else did we do today? We did lots of stuff today. So feeling good. Getting back to the swing of things. Getting back to where I was. Feeling much better. And I just gotta keep drinking water. Right now I'm drinking this pretty high intensity and 9.5 pH Essentia. #1 ionized alkaline water. Anyways, thanks for stopping in. Like I said, you can find if you're just tuning in, finding this out, you can see on my channel, I have on my live feed, you can find the other chapters and the other books as well. So, but that pretty much concludes it. You're welcome to visit my website. I have a website. It's www.indieshowcasebulletinboard.com. You can find updates of the stuff that I do. You can research my name on imdb.com.
Internet Movie Database, and you can see all the movies and stuff I've worked on. What else? That's pretty much it. I'm gonna call it early. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be waking up at 4 in the morning. I've been doing quite a lot of that. Just I don't know. Just to just to read and stuff. And, But yeah, always give me a like, give me a sub. Always, I'm building the channel. My goal for 2025 is to reach 1,000 subscribers. And so we're getting there. I mean, we're still early in the year. It's still February, so we're already more than halfway. So, we have the rest of the year to get there. So I'm not in a rush, but I hope to get there with your guys' help. What else? That's pretty much it, fellas, ladies and gents. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna go to bed soon. I gotta make sure I drink plenty of water. Plenty of water. You gotta drink that water, Very importante. All right. I'm feeling good about that. I'm gonna call it a night and go to bed somewhere. And get some sleep, because I'm pretty much there now. So as always, thank you. Peace. I'm out. Have a good night. I'll see y'all in the morning. Perhaps, I don't know. I'm gonna get to work in the morning, do some writing. So I don't know if you'll see me. You might not see me for a day, because I got to get to writing. So we'll see what happens. I might do reading at night. Tomorrow night we'll get to reading. But I really got to get to writing. So yeah, you might not see me tomorrow morning, all day. Perhaps tomorrow night you might. So we'll see. All right, peace, people. Peace. Have a good night. God bless America. God bless all the people of the world and all the animals.